Wow, what an episode! While the Duttons may have taken a back seat this time, the intensity far from slowed down. In fact, what's happening beyond the borders of Montana is spiraling into something even more dangerous, more gripping, and more unpredictable. Every moment is setting the stage for a showdown that could shake everything we've known so far. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into the twists, the tension, and the truths behind this latest chapter. Here's a full breakdown of what went down and a sneak peek at what's coming in the next episode, chillingly titled The Mountain Teeth of Monsters. The synopsis for episode 7 reads, The Duttons receive good news. Alexandra catches a lucky break during her journey. Teonna reunites with a face from her past. Let's begin with one of the most gripping arcs of this episode, Teonna's. Ever since late last season, Teonna has been running for her life, trying to escape the chains of brutality and injustice, while Father Renaud and Marshal Kent have been relentless in their pursuit. Their hunt has been long, violent, and personal, but until now, they hadn't made any real progress. That changes drastically in this episode, where the tide begins to turn in the worst possible way. After helping a group of cowboys in the previous episode, Teonna, along with her father and Pete, believed they had a momentary lead, perhaps even a sliver of safety. But that illusion is shattered when Marshal Kent finally tracks down the same group they helped. Initially, the cowboys' boss firmly denies ever having seen the girl on Kent's wanted poster. You can feel the tension he's protecting her, but it's risky. Unfortunately, Father Renaud isn't one to be easily dissuaded. Through a mix of intimidation and manipulation, he pushes the man to break. Under the weight of pressure and fear, he finally confesses, yes, Teonna had been with them. As this dangerous revelation unfolds, Teonna and her companions are seen making their way across the vast, unforgiving plains, hoping to put as much distance as possible between themselves and the forces chasing them. They're exhausted but determined. Then comes a fateful moment. Pete offers to search for water. He's clearly unsure it's risky terrain, and they don't know what lies ahead, but he insists. The group lets him go, not knowing how critical this decision will become. What happens next is both heart-pounding and tragic. Pete discovers a watering hole, seemingly by chance, but he's not alone. Renaud and Kent are already there. The camera slows. Pete freezes. It's a moment of quiet before chaos. At first, neither Renaud nor Kent recognize him. It's just another traveler, another face. But it doesn't take long before suspicion turns into violent intent. Kent, who by now has fully embraced a brutal and merciless pursuit, decides to act. Without warning or hesitation, he chases after Pete, who immediately flees for his life. The plains become a blur of dust, hooves, and desperation. Then disaster strikes. Pete's horse crashes to the ground, throwing him violently off. Injured and disoriented, Pete scrambles to pull his gun, but it's too late. The scene cuts to black, in the middle of the chaos and then gunshots. The sound echoes with finality. We don't see what happens next, but the implication is chilling. This entire sequence is a masterclass in suspense and emotional storytelling. It not only raises the stakes for Teonna's storyline, but also reminds us of the ever-present danger she faces. It's not just a chase, it's a war for survival. And as the net tightens, you can't help but wonder who will make it out alive. Who was hit? Did Pete survive? Those haunting questions hang heavy in the air as the screen fades to black gunshots echoing like the end of a heartbeat. It's a brutal cliffhanger, and we'll have to wait until next week for any concrete answers. But until then, let's dive into what we do know and what we can speculate. We heard 2 distinct gunshots, back to back, quick and sharp. That tells us one thing for sure. There was no mercy, no negotiation, just raw survival. My theory? Both Pete and Kent were hit. But the more important question is, Who lives to see another sunrise? If there's one thing we've learned about Taylor Sheridan's storytelling, it's this: nobody is safe. He doesn't just write pain, he writes transformation through suffering. So, following that logic, I can't shake the gut-wrenching feeling that Pete won't make it. And here's where things get even more layered. Teonna's journey is starting to parallel Elsa's in profound ways. Both young women found love on the road in the midst of chaos and danger. For Elsa, it was a beautiful yet fleeting moment her partner died, and she was left with the weight of that loss. But there's one key difference in Teonna's story. I believe she's pregnant. It may not be confirmed yet, and she herself may not even realize it, but there are breadcrumbs. Her father's words in episode 5 about them being the last ones fighting felt symbolic. It wasn't just about survival, it was about legacy, about continuation. The rainwaters are an essential thread in the Yellowstone tapestry, and Teonna's bloodline may be the one carrying that history forward. If Pete dies, and it's looking more and more likely his child could be all that remains of their love. Think about it. This twist would give Teonna's arc a tragic beauty, a sense of continuation born from pain. Much like Elsa, she'd carry the weight of love lost and life growing inside her. And it would set up an incredibly powerful narrative for the future of the Rainwater family. So what do you think? Is Teonna pregnant? Will Pete die in that dusty, violent chase? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this one's going to spark some serious theories. Meanwhile, across another thread of the story, Spencer finally meets him, the tough, no-nonsense female marshal hot on the trail of Kent and Renaud. She finds Spencer in rough shape, stranded 30 miles from the nearest water source, sunburnt, delirious, and close to death. But instead of shooting first and asking questions later, M brings him in. And that's where things take an unexpected turn. Skeptical at first, makes a call to the Bozeman Sheriff's Office. She's expecting bad news, maybe a fugitive, maybe a drifter. But instead, she learns that Spencer isn't just innocent, he's a war hero. Turns out he's earned a Congressional Medal of Honor without even realizing it. Surprised and maybe even a little impressed, tells him, if you ain't a fugitive, this is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you. And she's not wrong. What started as a life or death mistake becomes a lucky break. M even owes him a train ticket now. Before Spencer heads out, he shares a tense moment with the sheriff, who warns him not to return to Montana unless he's ready to keep the peace. But Spencer, being Spencer, doesn't flinch. He simply replies, "Tell Kara I'm coming home." With that, he boards a train bound for Montana, bringing a storm with him. One chapter closes, but another one is about to explode. But the question remains, will Spencer actually make it to Bozeman? Given his track record, it feels like anything could happen to him along the way. The journey might not be as simple as hopping on a train. I can already picture it. His train could derail, sending him into even more chaos and cementing his reputation as the most unlucky Dutton ever. Or, just to take things to the next level, he could be abducted by aliens right as he nears Bozeman. We're talking about a character who's already seen it all, so anything feels possible at this point. All jokes aside, I'm bracing myself for Spencer's screen time in episode 7 to be somewhat limited. It's clear his storyline is building towards something explosive, but for now, it seems like the show will focus on other developments. Meanwhile, things are heating up at the Dutton Ranch. The Season 2 trailer teased a pivotal moment when Sheriff McDowell tells Jacob Dutton, "I'm trying to prevent a war," only for Jacob to reply, "It ain't preventable." I'm betting this scene will happen in episode 7, and here's why. After leaving his office in the last episode, it's likely that the sheriff will head straight to the ranch to warn the Duttons about Spencer's return. But here's the kicker, it's too late to stop anything now. Spencer's got a score to settle. Having already lost his brother, he's back with one mission, to protect the ranch and take on whatever comes his way. The stage is set for a confrontation that could change everything. What do you think will happen next? Alex's journey across the country has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride, one that's left her scarred, but not broken. After surviving the horrifying mugging in the previous episode, where she lost everything, she continues forward with nothing but the clothes on her back and a determination that refuses to let her fall. Unfortunately, all her money has been stolen, and with it, any hope of buying food, a bed, or any kind of comfort on this grueling trip. She's scraping by, clinging to survival. But then, just as the weight of her desperation threatens to pull her under, luck finally seems to smile on her. The dining car manager, a person she's barely exchanged a word with, notices her plight. Perhaps it's her exhausted expression, the weariness in her eyes, or maybe just the compassion that shines through in moments of crisis. In a rare act of kindness amidst the brutal landscape of the country, the manager offers her a job, a waitress position, in exchange for food. It's an incredibly generous offer, considering the harsh reality of her situation. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about a shred of dignity, a glimmer of hope, and maybe a chance to regain control of her life. For a fleeting moment, Alex may even feel like things could be looking up. She's found an opportunity, a lifeline amidst the storm. But in true Dutton fashion, the calm before the storm is always short-lived. Just when it seems like Alex might catch a break, disaster strikes. The train, which was supposed to be her temporary escape, becomes a cage for her torment. A male passenger, someone who should have been a fellow traveler in this journey, reveals his true predatory nature. He forces himself on her, and his touch is an assault not just on her body, but on her dignity. This man, as we can see, is a predator. He's not a stranger to these acts. Alex, already pushed to the edge, is cornered. Her body reacts out of instinct. She has no other choice but to endure. The next morning, things escalate, and the horror reaches new heights. This man, who has shown himself to be nothing but a predator, becomes even bolder, his actions growing more brazen. He slips his hand up her skirt, crossing a line that even the cruelest person would know not to cross. For Alex, this is the breaking point. She can't take it anymore. The resilience that had kept her going through every hardship, every cruel twist of fate, explodes in that moment. In one swift motion, Alex reaches for the only weapon she has at her disposal: hot coffee. With the same intensity of someone defending their very life, she douses him with the boiling liquid. The man recoils in pain, but Alex doesn't stop there. She swings the coffee pot with all her might, knocking him unconscious. It's an act of sheer survival, a raw, unfiltered display of strength, and most importantly, a Dutton move through and through. When pushed to the edge, she fights back. She will not be silenced. She will not be broken, and she will not let him get away with it. Unfortunately, as the chaos unfolds, Alex's victory doesn't go unnoticed. She is immediately arrested for assault. Her fight for survival, the act that was her only way out of a terrifying situation, now places her in even more danger. She is alone, vulnerable, and caught in a system that doesn't care about her story. It's a crushing reality. But fate isn't done with her yet. In a twist of fortune, a British couple, Hilary and Paul, who Alex had previously bonded with on the train, come to her aid. They step forward, and with solidarity and conviction, they vouch for her. They explain to the police that they were witnesses to the assault, that they saw Alex being attacked, and that her actions were in self-defense. The couple's testimony becomes the key to Alex's release. The police, unable to ignore the truth, are forced to let her go. It's a bittersweet victory for Alex, who now knows that she's not entirely alone in this world. There are people who see her. There are people who believe her. But while she's been given a second chance, the road ahead is still fraught with peril. Alex's journey has taken yet another dark turn, and though she survived yet another blow, there are many more battles to fight. But if there's one thing Alex has shown us, it's that she's not going down without a fight. However, another problem arises. Her train has been canceled. Paul and Hillary invite her to their home in Wilmette, a suburb of Chicago. If you've been watching 1923 long enough, you've probably developed a justified paranoia about seemingly kind strangers. So, are Paul and Hillary genuinely good people? Paul jokes that after seeing what she can do with a coffee pot, he'll definitely keep his hands to himself. But should we trust them? Their wealth makes me wary. Could they be connected to Whitfield? Or am I overthinking this? It's hard not to feel like there's something more lurking beneath the surface, especially with the way they've been positioned in the narrative. But only time will tell if my suspicions are spot on or if I'm simply reading too much into the situation. With so many storylines converging and reaching critical points, Episode 7 is shaping up to be an absolute game changer. The tension is palpable, and I'm sure we're in for a wild ride. What do you think will happen next? Do you think I'm onto something with the Whitfield connection, or do you have your own theories? Let's dive into the discussion. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. And hey, if you're craving even more 1923 content to keep the excitement going, don't forget to check out the next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the comments.